I take advantage of. Thank you, O great presence of all life, for your beloved children of the light and of America. Why should I not speak to you? Have you placed me so far away that I cannot tell of my love for you? I am sure you have not. I take advantage of this opportunity as we are all drawing so much closer into the world of human activity, because of the great need today. The need is very great, as it was in the time of our ministry so long ago, I should hardly say with my beloved son. Yet, I still do think of him as that. You know, we mothers are curious beings, are we not? We seem never to forget our wondrous motherhood. It is quite marvelous. Yet so very much more marvelous is that day in the future when there will come again the true motherhood and fatherhood of form, by the projection of the light rays to produce those forms. Beloved ones, my friends of long ago, we are entering into the eternal perfection which all have worked for so earnestly throughout the centuries. Many times, from the dimness of the light within. 419. Humanity, it did look uncertain. There is no doubt about that. Even we from the ascended state, at times, because of the condition of the light within mankind, thought and discussed how long it would take the beloved people to awaken sufficiently for the assistance to be given which is being poured out today. May I say a word to you tonight about that which fills my heart to overflowing? It is about your beloved Saint Germain. What would you and all have done without his courage and determination to try this out, and make the effort to bring this understanding once again to mankind? I tell you, precious ones, humanity never in the world could give praise enough to him. Shall I tell you what I do in our ascended state? If it sounds strange to you, please do not feel it so. I make the call to the infinite source of light once every 24 hours, according to your time, in praise, thanks, and blessing to Saint Germain for this work which he has given to humanity. One day you will come to know how wonderfully true it all is. Oh, what a great blessing it is in the hands of mankind. You have a scepter of power in the understanding of the presence, which everyone can wield to bring freedom from limitation, and the ascension. May I tonight, for an hour, just be a mother to all of you? You know a mother has power to convey a feeling to her child or her children, sometimes stronger than the father. So tonight, let us for a while just be mother and children talking heart to heart. While the messenger's voice speaks my words to you, let our hearts speak to each other. One day not so far distant, you will come to know this too as a great reality, for you will speak heart to each other through the feeling, as definitely as you now speak to each other in words. All ascended masters speak thus through the feeling. We often use worded expressions, but still it is not really necessary. As soon as we have a thought, the color flashes which reveals the feeling, because the thought carries the form, and the feeling the color. Thought carries the form and feeling the color. It is just as natural as breathing and is absolutely definite. It cannot be misunderstood as words sometimes are. You come to know what each color and thought means as it appears. Every form has a definite thought back of it. So it is in your world of activity, beloved ones. This is going on all the time, invisible to most of you as yet, but still perfectly tangible. As the messengers have so often reminded you, a thing may be invisible but still tangible. So is thought and feeling. It is completely invisible, but it is absolutely tangible to you. Will you remind yourselves of this often, that you may receive the greatest benefit and have the greatest ease in self? Control, in other words, govern your feeling world with the greatest ease. You come to the point in your progress and in the expansion of your light when it is imperative for your feeling world to be kept harmonious. Beloved ones, will you please feel how natural all of this instruction is? You discuss each other. We discuss you. Of course, we always discuss you with the greatest constructive feeling, and you will all come to do the same thing. We have great patience when we see the infinite patience of the great cosmic beings who govern worlds and planets and systems. They wait for the activity within those planets to come to a certain point where its complete perfection can manifest. Then why should we feel impatient when humanity does not always come up to the standard which it knows? To know a thing in the intellect is one thing, and to know the same thing and sustain it in the feeling is quite another thing, as you have all discovered. Yet the joy of it is the great, the wonderful victory which you are winning constantly. As the great Himalaya said to you recently, your victory is far greater than you realize, but that does not mean you should ease up on your efforts, not at all. We have watched the progress of mankind, including ourselves before our attainment, and the force of human creation has been the same throughout the centuries. There is no change, no difference in its activity or any quality less than perfection when it is acting. It is the same throughout nature, throughout mankind. But once you come to the point where you are beginning to feel your dominion and your victory, oh, what a change in your world takes place. Only by having your attention fixed upon the supreme giver of life can this possibly come about and be sustained. You see, no one can have a sustaining power without knowing that he has an individualized God presence, the mighty I Am presence. He must know where his own focus of perfection is. The proof is that throughout the centuries mankind who did not know this presence did not have a sustaining power. They have advanced to a point and then lost it. They have risen to a certain height, and then again lose it. In each embodiment of everyone, more or less progress is made, but, you see, there has been no understanding which sustained the gain. There has been nothing to cause the individual, at the close of a span of life, to go out of life with such a firm desire for perfection that it would be the compulsion of the next life. Whenever such a desire was within the individual at the close of one span of life, then the powerful impulse of the next life brought about great illumination of the mind. Today you are the manifestation, you are the example of what the power of the attention does when fixed upon your source of life, which is God, your mighty I Am presence. At the time of my son's ministry, we were taught this identical application. Jesus was taught it by the great divine director. Then he taught John and myself. This very instruction enabled us to soon follow him in the ascension. I assure you tonight, beloved ones, that when in the wisdom of the ascended ones they see it is right, a complete and perfect description and ascended master explanation of what took place in his life will be given. I mean, that which has been clothed with human opinions will be cleared, and that which has not been recorded will be brought forth to mankind. Then you will know the exact activity which took place at the time. It is so easy for the ascended masters to read the records of every civilization. They are in the ethers as plain as you read your song books, your decree books, or the books of Saint Germain. These are not unusual things. Only because mankind has not understood them, do they seem at first unusual, but in all manifestation and activity of life there is not one single thing unusual, beloved ones. Try to feel that, I plead with you. Try to feel, no matter how transcendent the being, how transcendent the activity, or how transcendent the manifestation which comes forth, still it is all perfectly natural because it is the law of life. Nothing can manifest to you that is not according to law. Now notice. In all limitations which mankind has drawn about it, while individuals were using the energy of life, it was the mistaken qualification by the feeling which produced limited conditions and results. It is not the fault of the energy nor the law of life. It is because mankind had to be given free will, and through that, they must choose how they desire to direct this energy. It is flowing forth constantly, and most of you by this time must see and understand why you have not had more of this energy and perfection of the presence flowing through. It was simply because you did not know the presence was there. Metaphysics has taught that God, the Christ, is within. It is true, but how much of it? When we ourselves came to know this point, we made the ascension through that knowledge. It is true, we had previous understanding, but still, even with it we had not made the ascension. Dear ones, it is so curious how mankind takes an idea and builds upon it, takes an individual and builds a creation or concept of its own about that one. Humanity generates all kinds of concepts concerning that idea or that individual. They are rarely correct, but still, according to the advancement of the individuals do mankind receive clearly or partially part of the law which is released by whatever feeling is within them. I trust one shall be able to fix so firmly within your consciousness the feeling that today you can have all the means you need to give you comfort and happiness. Perhaps you think of me as a special being. Every human being is a special being. Why? Because your own God presence supplies the life, the energy, the substance by which your form exists on this earth today. Then is that not true? Is not everyone a special being? In all religious activities of the world, the truth to some degree has been clothed with human concepts. Believe me when I say to you tonight, and I shall do it to the whole world, the inception of the Catholic Church was brought about by and through the power of the ascended masters. There has never been an embodiment since its inception, in which there has not been an ascended master somewhere in that church who was the guardian of what took place. If mistakes began to creep in too much, they were checked. Today, beloved ones, in all activities of attention to the divinity, the culminating point is arriving. All churches, all religions, all activities through all metaphysical activities and everything which brings the attention in any way to the higher understanding of life, or in any wise calls the attention to divinity, all are closing into this one central point, the mighty I Am presence. We see that. We know this must come. If only precious, beloved humanity could understand this mighty I Am presence, and the preachers take this understanding fearlessly into the churches everywhere, the joy, the speed and release of humanity from the discord and limitations of today would be almost like lightning. May I draw an example for a moment? Take your beloved messengers. They went forth absolutely fearless in regard to the opinions of mankind. They have grown steadily more fearless from the beginning. That is why so many people have accepted this blessed understanding of the mighty I Am presence. Beloved ones, if you individually could just suddenly put out of your feeling world every vestige of concern about what someone else was going to think or do, you would be so amazed how quickly and readily people would accept what you offer. Do you realize that if fear or uncertainty are within your feeling world and you speak to someone, for instance, about the truth of the I Am, the probability is, the individual will question or begin to argue. But if you go to them with an absolute certainty within your feeling of the understanding of the presence, and you are really correct, it will be the rarest thing for anyone to resist or doubt you. Many times the messengers have said to individuals in reference to the orthodox world, go forth fearlessly and speak the truth. Let everyone be free to accept or reject it. Then, mankind understands no one is trying to impose anything upon the individual. When they feel they are really being given freedom, they will listen. So it is in your activity today. Never try to force the truth upon anyone. Pour love and blessing to the people. Call their mighty I Am presence into action to awaken them to the truth, and remember always that all activity of the presence is now. Do not feel or allow the suggestion to act in your feeling world that sometime in the future the individual will accept it. Just say to the mighty I Am presence, you see to it that they awaken and accept this now, because we know it is their freedom. Give them strength and courage to do this. Then you are rendering the greatest service possible to assist your fellow man through courage, strength, or whatever is required for them to awaken and accept their freedom. Everyone must be free. This is why Saint Germain told you in the beginning, it would be impossible for this work to be organized or committees formed, or the conditions used that ordinarily act in the outer activity of the world in churches or otherwise, because people must be free. They must be turned to their presence. Sooner or later their presence will direct them unerringly and show them the perfect thing. It is the only way mankind can come to a point of decision within themselves. Beloved ones, remember the privilege it is to use the chart, as you have it before you, to use the violet consuming flame and the tube of light, which can be made an invincible protection about you, and let me say, the protection you need is not so much from disaster as from human suggestions. If you will call the presence to hold about you its invincible tube of light, you will not accept into your feeling world suggestions of others, even though they may be consciously projected to you, and that is so very important. We see how blessed mankind are acting out the impulses of others so much more than they are their own. They do not act out the impulses from their own mighty I Am presence, because of the old momentum and habits which they have accumulated through depending upon outer things, through many centuries. This is why, beloved ones, you are in the position to set yourselves free through this understanding of your presence. The use of these activities is so simple, yet they are majestic and powerful. You are able to set yourselves free. There are thousands of the blessed ones who are actually doing it. That is the beauty of this understanding, and can you imagine our rejoicing? There are both the motherhood and fatherhood of God, the mighty I Am presence. They are two mighty elements which are acting in the world of mankind all the time, and of course in your human forms. The intellect represents the father, and the heart the mother. The feeling world, both use. The heart says to the intellect, if you will allow me to govern, peace, harmony, and abundance will reign, but if you take the reins, having only the appearance world from which to draw your concepts, then you will make many mistakes. The heart, being the activity of the presence within the human form, will not make mistakes. As your attention goes to your presence, remember. Love, wisdom, and power are acting, balancing both the form and activity. If you allow the heart to act, which is the presence prompting you through the feeling world, your intuition, then you will soon come to the point where you will be certain, each time an inner impulse or prompting comes, where it comes from. At first, one must call the discrimination from his higher mental body into action. You may not often know what the impulse is which is acting, until you try it out, until you keep calling the presence into action. Even then you may make some mistakes. Please do not be discouraged about it, if you do. Only when you are wholly free from human limitations are you perfect. That is only after you have made the ascension. So, do not be discouraged if, when you attempt to call your presence into action, occasionally you make a mistake. Say, now, hold on. Mighty I am presence, you stand guard here and see that. I do not do this again. In that way you will soon correct all mistakes, all those things. The great beauty and power of this application is that it only requires the right motive and great sincerity within the individual. If that be maintained, it will in a short time call forth such perfection, such clearness of the directing intelligence from the mighty presence, that mankind will no longer be making mistakes. However, one may not intrude upon another, but each can be of the greatest blessing to all others by pouring out blessing and calling the presence into action for all whom they know or who touch their world. You are being given all-powerful statements which do release from your presence all that is required to govern your activity and release your supply and protection. May I remind you of what is still acting on some occasions. The individual makes his earnest application and then touches the outer world. Either through a spoken word or some suggestion, he starts another train of thought and feeling. That changes the whole current of energy which he charged forth into action to produce a given result. This is why the results with some do not come so quickly. There are so many of the students who are having almost instantaneous and marvelous results. Their understanding perhaps is no greater than others having less results, except that they have discovered the great fundamental thought. As long as their feeling keeps harmonious and their call to the presence goes forth into action, every call is answered very quickly. Once they have discovered this secret and see how quickly the fulfillment comes, they will not allow suggestions, verbal or otherwise, to affect them. They will stand firm and steady. I want to answer one question tonight, which has been in the minds of a great many students. We use various kinds of terminology, but always simple in its explanation, so it cannot be misunderstood. When we say, any of the ascended masters say to you, stand in unto your mighty I am presence, it means just that. When you stand to your mighty I am presence, it means that you are undivided in its power. When you stand at attention, your attention is upon a definite objective. When you want to have anything manifest in your experience, it means that you must hold a definite focus of your attention upon the call to your presence, unyielding. In not allowing anything to intrude or disturb that call, it will act quickly. Always ask your presence, when you have made an earnest call, to stand guard over it and see that nothing disturbs your feeling, until that is made manifest to you. The presence will do it. Remember, beloved ones, your higher mental body is one of the most magnificent activities of all mankind, because it is your discriminating, selective intelligence which knows every requirement. It wants you to have all good so much, but if your feeling is requalifying all the energy which you call forth, is your presence, is your higher mental body to blame? If you will not govern your attention, or you allow the feeling to requalify the energy you have called forth, then your human self goes on doing the same old thing all the time, instead of producing the results you want. Now, these are such tremendous activities. They are so very simple. the Great Ones commanded that this understanding go forth in simple language, and it will never be changed throughout eternity because technical terminology has no part in the activity of the God Presence, the mighty I Am Presence. Many times technical terms are used to cover the lack of understanding of the subject under discussion. There is nothing in the great law of life which requires technical terminology. Take your so-called courts of justice today. If every word used were so simple that the layman could understand it, great would be the divine justice to all. Such divine justice is coming to all. Be not discouraged, beloved ones. Saint Germain has told you so truly that owing to the great cosmic law, it is making it more and more possible for the ascended masters to release greater power and light. Then, they will no longer tolerate the imperfections of mankind. The imperfection of all mankind has come to its breaking point, beloved ones. It is losing its power every day. Will you not believe that? Will you not accept it, and to every appearance that seems disturbing, say, it has no power? Then that appearance can no longer have power to act among mankind. Many are being awakened and raised up to voice the truth in your government and in conditions of disturbance throughout the world. I say for your encouragement tonight that there is a great awakening in the mass of mankind. People are beginning to see the deception which has been practiced upon them by those who used what seemed to be a good means to intrude something vicious. Humanity is awakening, I tell you dear ones, to the great truth of life, and they will not be so easily deceived in the future. These little Save America folders, which the blessed ones have sent forth, calling the attention of mankind to the need for the protection of America, are doing tremendous things. Keep it up, I urge you. Keep those folders going out everywhere you can to mankind, because individuals who cannot accept this deeper understanding of life concerning the presence will take hold and use this law when it comes to the protection of their beloved country, America. You are so privileged, beloved ones, to be the carriers of the light for this great incoming perfection. Beloved ones, there is no service on earth today so great. But I say to you and to all the students, be so sure of yourselves in your understanding of the mighty I Am Presence, and in your understanding of the explanation of this chart. I say to the individual students, the group leaders, and the people who go forth carrying this light to others, please believe me when I say there is nothing so important as this understanding of the law. The messenger has given you the correct worded explanation of that chart. Please follow it. Do not vary from it. Then all will see that they have a foundation upon which to build their structure of perfection. With the violet consuming flame, they have the most powerful means to dissolve and consume the old structure of imperfection. In the so-called slums of your cities, you tear down the old buildings to put up newer ones, more beautiful ones, more comfortable ones. So it is in correcting a structure of human creations. You must tear the old down, or, in other words, dissolve and consume it. Then build your structure in the ascended master's strength and understanding of the presence, for it is the only means by which you can have perfection. That is the greatest joy, oh, beloved ones. Our hearts entwine with yours. We long, oh, so intensely, to see you free. We rejoice so, shall I use the word, extremely, when we see you gaining the victory. You are winning it, do not waver. Do not waver. Blessed ones. Keep your feelings harmonious, no matter what the appearance is, and go on, in your earnest, determined call to the presence. It is the law of life. It cannot fail you. It cannot fail to answer. But if you keep asserting, I wonder if I have the ability. I wonder if this is going to be accomplished, or that is going to be accomplished, you are dividing your power, and you will only have partial results. Do stand so firm when you have started out for a given purpose. Be sure that it is wholly constructive, then stand firmly by it. Keep calling the presence into action until it is achieved. It cannot fail. We must necessarily see the great distress of mankind from their seeming inability to release the financial supply, which they require under the present conditions. With those individuals who have trouble or are struggling that way, it is because unknowingly they have accepted into their feeling world this mass pressure of limitation and distress. I tell you, dear ones, as others have told you, that each one in the understanding of his mighty I Am Presence knows he cannot fail, no matter what the condition in the outer world is today. It has absolutely no power to interfere with what the presence will do for each one. Do you think that sounds strange, coming from me? Not at all. These are laws of life. There is no selfishness in mankind, in individuals wanting to perfect themselves and their worlds. The great trouble with humanity up to the present time, or until Saint Germain brought this forth, has been the feeling that they had to sacrifice everything. In doing that they but make themselves helpless to go any further. Only as you perfect yourself in your world, can you be of greater and greater blessing and assistance to others. It does not mean that you must become an ascended being before you can render a beautiful service, not at all. In your stream of life as you go on and on to your perfection, in calling the presence of other individuals into action to produce that perfection for them, you are rendering, I assure you, the greatest possible service you can render to your fellow man. Under the law of life, everyone must stand within his presence, and one day draw its full perfection forth into outer manifestation. This is the perfection of the form and the ascension. Can it be possible that individuals among mankind think that the desire for perfection of the body, which means beauty, can be wrong? It would be a mistake if it were just to gratify vanity. The true understanding of life is that in the fullness of its expression, everything is beauty and perfection of form. Of all form which is manifested, whether it be in your physical world or whether it be in the higher octaves. Life is beauty. It is perfection. It holds no imperfection in itself. It is only as mankind clothes life's energy with discordant feeling, that it finds expression in imperfect forms or forms that are less than beautiful. Life in its natural activity produces happiness, beauty, and perfection in whatever form it is manifesting, if it be allowed to do so and have its own perfect way. That comes when mankind stops reclothing life's energy with discord and the limitations of the human world through its feeling. You must realize that one must be strong and firm at first, in this understanding, to keep shutting out of his world the discordant things which still keep registering limitation within him. All must stand firm, and do not allow themselves to have an opinion concerning any person, place, condition, or thing, but just keep focusing their attention upon the presence and keep saying, Mighty I am presence, there is nothing with which I am concerned except the perfecting of my world. Then as your radiance goes forth, all that touches your world will want to be like it, will want to have the radiance which they feel, which is beautiful and delightful. This is why, beloved ones, your responsibility to each other in your association is very great. Do you not see that? It is very great, for to the degree that you clothe this mighty energy flowing forth from your presence with discord, are you responsible for its effect upon another. Every precious I am student should remember. Only one thing, am about my Father's business, about the business of my mighty I am presence. As they keep giving attention to it, they will forget that others are disturbing to them. It was far worse in some ways in the time of our victory than it is with you today. You have the right, the freedom, and the privilege to think and worship as you please. You have the privilege of knowing your presence, knowing that there is no power in the universe which can stand against your presence, when it is called into action. The messengers are the eternal proof, to any honest person of the truth of that statement. They do not recognize or accept any opposing forces. There is not such a thing in the world to anyone who does not accept it. So it is with your individual world. You feel sometimes as if there were persons, places, or conditions which oppose you. Well, really there are not. There is no opposition to the expansion of your light or your own progress except yourself. What many people feel as opposition is really the pull between the intellect and the feeling. The intellect wants to argue. The feeling knows through the heart, but the intellect says, "Now, I think you are mistaken," and an argument ensues. But soon you will come to know that the heart is always right. Remember that great one who has said, "When I was searching for the truth, at first I heard many voices. Then suddenly from above me I heard this one voice, and when that voice spoke, all others became silent." That voice always told the truth. So it is, when your mighty I am presence is given an opportunity to speak through your higher mental body. All outer voices, whether they be visible or invisible, become silent before your presence, which is dominion. Precious ones, feel that tonight with all your hearts. I thank you, beloved ones, for this opportunity to speak to you. May the fullness of the light of the mighty I Am Presence expand, illumine the mind, and set you free in the fullness of your its great perfection made manifest in your world today. I thank you.